So let's talk about the commercial.
All right.
Can we talk about the commercial?
Yes, we can talk about it now. Yeah, we can talk about it now.
Yeah, so the commercial was the Doritos commercial.
Frito-Lay, I think it was Doritos. Yeah.
Yeah. The Flaming Hot
Push. Ooh, baby. Baby. And I was the voice of the water buffalo.
Right.
Bo, 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 bo. So that was hilarious in itself, and that I'm on screen Zoom with a bunch of Frito-Lay suits and ad execs in there. Yeah, that's kind of water buffalo-ish. Try go. Yeah, that's giving me more elephant. Go more water buffalo. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Making It. My name is Kennan Cooley, and I am with
Alvin, Chea. Hey everybody.
Hey there. How's it going, Alvin?
It's good. We haven't talked in a little bit, but it's going fantastic. It is warming up out here, and it feels good in California. How's things on your East Coast?
You're in California. It's always warm. Although I do know you had a
Yeah, a little bit of a someone was tripping a couple weeks ago, and I don't know what that was, but but it's on the upward. And
we had a warm day.
Hey. Good.
We did have a warm. We switched it for one day, and then we're back. So that's how it goes.
I wanted to talk to you today about interesting things.
Yes.
Quirky, interesting things in the thing. Yeah.
You have that interesting announcement that you just recently had, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll tell you about that as I tell you about this. So one of the very first things I learned in the business was that the music industry, the recording industry is set up to make you famous and the recording companies rich. Not the other way around. Your image will be used, but they will be enriched. And sometimes you can parlay that fame into some money, but oftentimes the two of them don't go together. I could tell you 100 stories of how I personally know that to be true. But that was one of the very first lessons I learned. And so many times I bump into people who are trying to be in the business, trying to get that fame and trying to go to, and I'm always looking at them like, don't be deceived, my young Jedi. So with that in the background, I had something interesting happen to me recently. My whole career, I've been, voiceover career, I've been trying to get to the point where I have this big campaign. This big network campaign, this big network,
another big ones.
big, like, oh, you're that guy. I've always wanted that one. Well, I was blessed with an opportunity recently to be featured on a Super Bowl commercial. And it was very, very cool, really amazing, came out of the clear blue sky. And it was something that, people they're like, you're doing that. But the funny thing about it was, I had to sign it.
Let's pause for a second, because that's big news. I mean, let's go to where you're going to go, but let's pause for a second, because that's big news. First of all, I kind of had a feeling it was you when I heard. So let's talk about the commercial.
All right.
Can we talk about the commercial?
Yes, we can talk about it now. Yeah, we can talk about it now.
Yeah, so the commercial was the Doritos commercial.
Frito-Lay, I think it was Doritos. Yeah.
Yeah. The Flaming Hot
Push. Ooh, baby. Baby. And I was the voice of the water buffalo.
Right.
Bo, 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 bo. So that was hilarious in itself, and that I'm on screen Zoom with a bunch of Frito-Lay suits and ad execs in there. Yeah, that's kind of water buffalo-ish. Try go. Yeah, that's giving me more elephant. Go more water buffalo. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So
wait, hold on. So wait, they're telling you sound more like an elephant versus a water buffalo?
Well, yeah, they're like that's giving me water buffalo, or that's not. I'm feeling more, crocodile or whatever. They're telling me what visual is, and I'm just like, sure. Bo, bo, dom, 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 whoa, 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 whoa. Dom, 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 dom. It's all the same to me. I don't care. So we're going back and forth and back and forth. So after all of this whole thing.
So you had to find your inner water buffalo. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yes, that's what I had to do. So after all of that, we went back and forth, and there was a bunch of guys that started out with me based out of LA. About 2 or 3 different guys, you know, somebody was doing the beatbox, somebody was doing the bears, somebody was doing the this, somebody was doing that. One by one, they all started getting substituted out. But nobody was challenging me for the water buffalo. So I just kind of, and I had auditioned for a couple of different things and got kicked out of this and got kicked out of this, but I was still water buffalo. So, you know, as time went on.
So question for that. So they, just to, you know, kind of educate me and the audience, really, they give you their sides. So we know, you and I know that their sides that they give you for the parts and I guess the music sides, right?
Right.
But they say, okay, this is for the water buffalo, this is for the bear.
Right. So now when you get it, you know, so we got the screen and the screen is just the CGI rough. It's not filled in, the fur's not there. You're just seeing the framing of these water buffalo. And you have to line up the timing of what you're doing for it. And you'll hear doot, doot, doot. Do, 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 do. You got to stay on pitch and then and all of that. And you see that what you're doing, if they've done what they're supposed to do beforehand, your music part will line up with the animation of what they're getting ready to render. So in fact, there were like 3 different water buffaloes. And at first I was giving do to this water buffalo and do to the second one and do to the third. They're like, no, don't do that. Just put it all together. We'll split it up. I said, okay. So it was really cool. We were doing it, and you know, I wasn't sure, but I started hearing from my friends less and less. Cause you know, we were kind of updating. Hey, have you heard? Hey, have you heard? Have you? And they stopped checking in with me, so I was like, I don't know. So sure enough, I was able to make the final. And everything was great and wonderful. And, you know, this happened 2 months out. So, you know, you kind of, in this business, you're constantly working on today's, you know, slaying today's dragon. You don't look back or you don't speak again. Because at the very last second, you could be replaced.
Oh, wow.
I've been replaced. It's hilarious. As a matter of fact, on that commercial, if you remember, there was a lady who was crawling up on the branch at the top. When I did it, there was a man that was doing that.
Oh, wow. So
there was a guy. He was replaced.
Wow.
He was replaced. I don't know if, I don't even want to venture to guess why he could have been replaced. I don't know. But it was a woman. So I'm sure he was telling people, man, I'm on a Super Bowl commercial. And then when the thing came out, he had been replaced. So all of that's great. You know, it's got, finally, the contract started coming in. Sign this, sign this, sign this, sign this. Great, great, great. And then a big, thick NDA.
So they send that to you after you've already done the recording?
Oh, yeah. Because up to that point, you could just be doing an audition or be doing a demo. They could just pay you for the little thing that you sing and you go away. It's not until it is locked in as this is going to go final. You know, then the codes and the guidelines of the Screen Actors Guild kick in. You know, the pay rates and the this and all that kind of stuff. But as they sent me all of that stuff, you know, it's still, you could still sign all that and you get replaced at the last second. I signed it and they sent an NDA. For people who don't know what NDAs are, they are non-disclosure agreements. In other words, you can do it, you can enjoy it, we'll pay you, but you better not say anything to anybody. Okay, so that is why, back to the whole
different
thing
different NDAs go to different depths, right? I'm pretty sure since this was Super Bowl, this was pretty heavy. Yeah. And you know, it was, you can't whisper a word of it till the thing airs, and you know, can't say anything. So that's kind of why I had to tell you the backstory of how you're paid for your fame, or you know, they'll lease out your image, but they get the money. In this situation, they'll pay you, but they don't even want your image. They're like, we just want your talent. And it kind of, it's cool, but it kind of hurts your feelings a little bit, because also in that commercial were Megan Thee Stallion, Charlie Puth, who I wasn't familiar with his work. And they were
doing a whole media blitz saying of this commercial that came on. So much so that they even did a commercial teaser for the commercial. They're all over the place. Yeah, we're on this thing. And Megan is going, and the commercial is going, ooh, baby, 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 ooh, baby. That's all she's doing.
Yeah. But she got to be. You're saying that her face actually was out there showing that she's going to be.
Because her image helped sell that commercial, and people get with the hype. And Charlie Puth is a big deal, and his image and his hype, and and they're like, you don't say anything.
You sit down.
You sit down. You sing this note, and then you go to the corner.
Yeah, you have to put your ego in a certain space.
Yeah, and until you're ready for that, that's why people. When I first came to LA, I thought it was all about the image and the profile, but there are a lot of people that you'll see at the beach at noon on Tuesday, pulling up in some Ferrari and like, what is it that you do? And they're like, I own the studio that you were in yesterday. So that it totally has rewired the way I think and the way I understand the movers and shakers of this business are. There are people, truly their image is up there. There are people who are famous, but by and large, the people who continue to work and continue to be invested and continue to have impact in this business are the quiet behind the scenes people.
It is so true. It is so true. I mean, but I have never counted, but you have a huge list of movies you've been on and different things you've done, but people wouldn't necessarily know your face, but they know your voice. I remember when I first met you, I was like, you're the voice behind Chili's? Chili's.
I want my baby back. Yes.
Baby back. Oh, yeah.
And there are lots of things like that. I did Spider-Man: No Way Home, and we couldn't talk about that at all. And you're seeing all the press, and you're seeing all the people that are talking about the new movie that came out and what's going to happen. You know exactly what's going to happen because you're right there. But what ends up happening is you end up doing so many projects that have NDAs, you forget which ones have NDAs, and you forget which ones. You're moving on. You're just moving on. You're like, oh, I could talk about that now? Yeah, 3 months ago I did,
Right, but I mean, but you have to assume, I thought most of yours at this level would have.
Most of them are, yeah. Most of them are, yeah.
Yeah, but you're saying at some point you can talk earlier than others.
Yeah, right. But I just have to remember, well, here's the thing. The things have changed where you never, A, we're supposed to talk about projects, and then B, as industry etiquette, you don't talk about projects because there are other singers who weren't invited. There weren't other singers that didn't get a chance, and they were jealousy. And I have friends of mine who have the bad habit of, hey man, did you work on such and such? Well, who hired for that? Yeah, she never hires me. And I'm like, easy man. You can't be that way. What's for you is for you. What's for me is for me. God is big enough to take care of all of us,
But I mean, that's the unwritten thing.
Yeah, right? You learn that the hard way. And when people are peppering me with questions or sulking or beating me up about something, I can tell that they're new, they're not very experienced, and that they're if they keep that attitude, they're not going to be able to ascend to the heights.
Yeah,
because there's a language of silence on that level.
Yeah, and I would imagine that's, I'll say, fair. I mean, it would be nice to be able to talk a little bit, but I understand because it can be such a tight knit environment. Right. You can either easily, I won't say gain and lose friends, but it can cause a lot of friction that you weren't intending to cause even.
Absolutely. So, yeah. No, it's there's a culture. I remember one of the very first times when I got to town, I was just getting in, starting to work a lot. And there was a morning thing that I'd gotten called for. Let's say it was 9 to 1, and then there was an afternoon thing, completely different thing, from 2 to 5. Okay. We're gonna have time a little bit to grab some lunch or whatever. So I went to 9 to 1. Hey, how are you doing? Oh, good to see you. Ooh, yeah, you look great. Blah blah blah. 15 people in the room. We're knocking it out. Do what we have to do. Great, that's a wrap. Everybody's fired. We went to lunch. I went to lunch, heading there. Then after grab something to eat, headed to the next session. Walked in there. all of the exact same people. Nobody had said a word about the fact that they were working that afternoon.
Next one.
And I walked in, I was like, oh, that's how you stay on the A-list. That's how you roll. Nobody said jack. Yeah. Are you working this afternoon? Nobody said, They didn't say anything. I walked in there, hey, how you doing? Oh, great.
How you?
Instant replay. Right.
Well, as a producer on my side of the aisle, there are a lot of nuances to an NDA that it's hard to kind of say that you can blanket and say, okay, well, look, these were what's in every NDA. But there are certain things that that you have to be careful of. Like you said, you have to read each one individually because each situation is different.
Right.
So what would you say were your, I guess, top 2 or 3 pieces of advice about NDAs from a talent perspective?
First of all, talent to talent, like I said, you may be tempted to have a professional humble brag moment between other talent to say, hey man, that's just quietly between me. You can't do that. It doesn't serve you well. You think it will, it feels good for that 4 seconds, but people are competitive. It's you don't know what people are dealing with. They may have, it just doesn't work out. And also, I would just say, you got to keep your eyes on your own work. Keep your eyes on your own work. Don't worry about anybody else, but respect that. And if you do nothing else, if you go bananas, stay off of social media.
Yes,
that's the main thing.
Yes.
One year, I remember we were doing the Oscars, and we were singing. There was about some pro singers in there. The Oscars are like our all-star game too. The best of the work the Oscars.
Yes.
And we were singing behind Lady Gaga. She was going to do this tribute to Julie. The hills are alive.
Julie Andrews.
Julie Andrews. Thank you. And it was a big surprise. Big surprise. Yeah. And don't tell anybody. We're signing this. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. So we're in there, and they addressed us in these white suits, and we're, everybody's in the thing. And there was the day of the performance. The door, boom, open. Who? And I can't tell the guy's name. I don't want to bust the guy out. Who is Blippity Bloppity? And we were all like,
not me.
Petrified. We're like, you put such and such on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And we were all like,
oh no.
They took him out of there so quickly.
Ooh.
It was a shame. And they made him pull it down because all they have to do is go on Facebook and search. It was the Oscars that year and who's trending and what's singing. Their big surprise had been let out of the bag. And
the Julie Andrews thing was let out of the bag?
Yeah, he had posted something about it or that he was in it or behind the scenes or blessed without, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Wow.
All of us have to be quiet. And so that's those. Take an NDA seriously.
Yeah.
You don't want to.
And the funny thing about it, once again, from my side, as we take NDA seriously and try to figure out, okay, well, look, for this particular project, we need to make sure. Well, there's basic things, like you said. There's no social media. There's no telling even your friends and whatever, because your friends will tell somebody else, and it's and they might put on social media. So you really still have to keep your mouth shut.
Sure.
If as a professional, you should be able to do that. Yeah. And like you said, if you want to work again, that's it. But
absolutely.
I've also realized too that NDAs are helpful. But first of all, as everybody knows, you can't necessarily protect an idea, right? Right. So NDA is helpful. It's not a sealed deal. Like, in other words, somebody can say, you and I can have an NDA, right?
Right.
And we're talking about this thing. Okay, I sent you an idea. I sent you a show idea. Well, it's not guaranteed just because you signed an NDA.
Right.
That idea will never show somewhere else.
Right. Yeah.
Because all they have to do is tweak it enough to look like they talked to someone else about it or sent it to a third person who wasn't on the meeting or the NDA. And there's a very important word that I like, and it's used in and out. sometimes you don't get to talk about it now, and sometimes you don't get to talk about it in perpetuity.
Right. Worldwide in perpetuity.
Worldwide in perpetuity for the rest of your life. Your grandmama, your great grandmother,
right?
Your grandchildren, your great grandchildren.
Right.
And you know who was like that, and he's gotten better. I mean, not gotten better, but the things surrounding him is Prince. Prince was like that. Prince, I had a friend who did photography for him. He couldn't talk about it till Prince died.
Oh, we met him.
Yes. We interviewed him, Daryl Todd. He could not talk about it until Prince died. It was like, I did a really big thing for somebody.
Right.
Likes purple or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so like you said, you have to kind of keep your ego down and say, I got to pay for it. One day it'll be known, but you don't always get to talk about it. Even, for you were able to talk about it once the Super Bowl aired. Right.
But there's a lot of that going around now. It's just the gold mine of ideas, intellectual property that has to be brought. I just went to a Kevin Hart show Saturday night. And we drove all the way out there, and walking into the theater, they're like, put your phones in this protective thing. They put it in the sheath and they lock it and they give it back. You can hold it, but you can't access it. You can't.
Oh, it's like a lockdown thing that they can only open?
They can only open. It's got some crazy tool that only they can open, or a magnet that only can. So your thing is closed up the entire time. Wow. You're not recording his show. You're not telling anybody. You're not tweeting, "Hey, blessed without apology." You're not doing any of that on his show.
So wait, was it a show that was already airing, or?
No, but I guess he's about to go out on tour with the show. And you don't write. It's like with musicians, you perform the same music again and again and again. Comedians, you can't come up once the joke is told. The joke is told. So he wants that to have a shelf life. So he doesn't want that everywhere.
Yeah, so that's true. That makes sense.
Yeah, so I've learned the hard way. I mean, I probably sign 2 or 3 NDAs a week. It's just it's how it's done out here. It's just how it's done.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be that guy that can't keep a secret because you won't be invited to share that secret again.
Yeah, that's true. Or hired, or doing a report, or and there's that thing where once somebody finds out that's what you do,
right?
You're done.
Yeah. You're that guy.
Done. Yeah. Well, I want to say one thing above all. Congratulations on your Super Bowl. Because that's the pinnacle of, not pinnacle, but it's one of those high pinnacles.
No, it's I've been working towards it, and you think that once you land it, you're going to ascend into the heavens, and
right, like, there's the Buffalo guy right there.
I used to know him. But I still wake up, I still pay my bills, and it's great. It's better to have it to not have it, but it was just 37 years of chasing it. I finally got it for the biggest.
And for you, because you love football, that's got to be
it was great, and it took the sting out of the Niners not being there. Like, well, somebody from the Bay Area will be on
somebody
the show.
Will represent. I'll be behind the Buffalo, but I'll represent.
Second Buffalo to the left. That's me. Yeah, so it was very, very cool. Very cool.
Good.
So tell me about you. So you're saying when you worked in the NDA field or anything like that, it's kind of a different animal?
Well, I mean, just because I've been talent and I've been producer, but mostly I've been a producer. Yeah, because you have to cover so many bases.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's general things that you cover, but for this particular thing, will the third party that you're involved in, let's say if I'm doing it and it's my production, but somebody else is sponsoring it, or if someone else is got a special, but as talent, they have their own special needs and special things that they require too. You can't do this. You can't. I mean, so it gets to a lot of levels of what you have to cover depending on the project, right? But at the end of the day, it's just keep your mouth shut. I mean, you can just put that on.
Right.
Keep your mouth shut.
Keep your Y-O apostrophe. Yes.
Right.
Mouth
That's it.
Shut.
Mouth shut. And here's different ways you keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, and my sister has an interesting theory about that whole process of intellectual property, or you sitting on what God has given you. Kind of the opposite ends of it is he gives out certain ideas to mankind. If he's given it to you and you don't do anything with it, trust and believe it's going to show up somewhere. And you're going to be like, I was thinking about, somebody should, man, I had that idea. Man, I invented, you know what? That happens all the time. I just this 2 weeks ago, my cousin turned me on to his digital flashcards thing app that it'll name the musical key, like it'll call a chord D minor 7 sharp 9, and you hit it and it'll spell out what it is on the bottom, and then you name it and then hit it and it'll like C7, boom, F diminished 7, boom, and you keep going. I thought about doing that for years.
Did you? Really?
For years. I even went as far as doing up a whole stack of virtual flashcards. They were like this high. I mean, way high, because there's 100 and there's so many chords. It's not even funny. You know, at virtual changes, there's like 500-600 different versions. But I never did anything with it, and sure enough, somebody came up with the concept. Yeah. It works
and not
great.
that I'm saying that ever happened, but if you even talk to somebody else and they talk to somebody else, you don't even know if somewhere along the way.
Right, exactly.
And that's why you try to, if it's some, I mean, it's a catch-22. You have to be able to talk to someone, people you trust. But you almost have to say at the beginning, like, and sometimes in the email, I'll just say, you know, this is between you and myself, if, you know, blah, blah, blah. So it's an unofficial NDA, just to get the, you know, hey, I told you this is just between us, you know.
Yeah, no, you know what? And you were really good about when we first met, you were talking concepts and you were talking such and such, and you were spelling out stuff right from the beginning. I was like, oh, she's a pro. She's been on this road before.
I've been, under the not covered spot. So now I make sure I'm covered.
Yeah.
Plus, I like to make, I'm a lawyer's daughter too. So I'm kind of one of those people who just likes to make sure everything, I try to make everything be in place. Now, will something slip behind? Yeah. And as I grow, I learn to add more things. My NDA might have been 2 pages before, now they're 10 pages. So yeah, you grow and learn, oh, let me add that to the NDA. Okay, let me add that. To the side, you know.
You can't be trusted.
But you know what? Even if you trust somebody, like, you know, I've signed it with you and I never not trusted you. It was just because that way, if something happens,
business protocol,
we had to understand. I always say everybody, well, most people can read, you know, so if you can read, you and I can have an understanding. Sometimes I'll say something, you might not have heard me, but you can read it and see it later. And it's something we can go back to later. Hey, remember when we found this?
Older.
Let's go back to the page.
Paragraph 2, section 3. We talked about this. Yeah, older and wiser. I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Onward and onward to the next big thing.
Yes. 2 Super Bowls.
2 Super Bowls. See you next time.
See you next time. I'm making it.